Oh, Raspberry Spurs fans. The Spurs suffered their first loss of the season to Crystal Palace. They currently sit 3-0-1 in the Premier League right now. So today we're doing our post-match ponderings, where we give our initial review of the match and we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly that we witnessed in this match. And right now the Spurs are sitting 7th after all matches have played for this past weekend. So, we've still got 9 points. Still doing pretty good, but, looking at the first 3 matches in this match, this is not entirely surprising, I guess is the best way to say it. So ponder upon this with this loss and the way we've started this season. Is this Jose 2.0, where we get off to a good start and then reality sets in and we are what we are for the rest of the season? So think about that. And looking at this match, one of the big keys to this match was we were missing 6 players, 3 due to international injuries through the week, and then 3 due to COVID protocol coming back from South America. So already we were on the back foot because our squad was so limited. And a number of those players were starters or are starters and or first people off the bench. So that really hurt our ability to put out a quality squad, in my opinion. So that was one of the things that set us off on the wrong foot to begin with. As watching the match, the first half we didn't even get a single shot on goal. So there were a lot of issues in working in that first half, even though the first half was better than the second, and that's not saying much. And if you look at the full match stats, we gave up 63% of the possession. We let them have like 18 shots, although 4 of them were on target, but 3 of them went in the back of the net. So, they did what they needed to do. So, stats don't tell everything. We always talk about that here. Stats are not a definitive indicator one way or another. They're just a piece of an evaluation tool or something to look at and understand a little bit what's going on, but it's not the end-all be-all. So, looking at the stats doesn't tell the entire story of the match, in my opinion. But, this was not a great match for the Spurs. And you could tell from pretty much, we played good for, I wouldn't say good, but I think we were holding our own for about 5 to 10 minutes in that first half. After that, the team just was not fulfilling what was needed for them to be successful. And we're going to talk more about that here in just a moment. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you haven't ever been with us, the way this works is you got the good. We're going to discuss the things that we thought were good, whether that's individual play by players, tactics, setup, just anything that you can place a value on that was positive or negative in the match. That's what we do. And so when we're looking at the good, those are obviously things that went well. When we're looking at the bad, those are things that are kind of more middle of the road where, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, but there's definitely some things there that need to be worked on. And then ugly is, my gosh, this was completely wrong. This was botched on a significant level that led to what was the severity of whatever was going on within the match. And so, it's got to be pretty bad to get an ugly category. And so we're going to start off with the good here. So the first good I have for this match is Rodon. Rodon didn't start the match. You had a Dyer Tanganga center back pairing that Nuno started out with. Dyer picks up an injury in the first 10 minutes of the match. You can blame part of that on Lloris, poor outlet ball to Dyer made him overextend and took an injury. So Roden comes in to replace Dyer for that injury because Dyer couldn't go anymore. And came on for Dyer, came on cold. I thought he came in, did an excellent job. In my opinion, Roden was the most solid defender on the day, even though he didn't get the start. He also repeatedly displayed his football intelligence, which I've been purporting that he has more of than any other defender and or center back on the team. But he sees things well before the danger occurs and takes a proactive action to reduce, eliminate, or mitigate that danger that's coming forward or coming at the team. And he displayed that all throughout the match. He did a great job there. So I think he had a very solid match. You know, he didn't get beat in any manner or fashion. You can kind of maybe give him some culpability for the third goal, but that was a very significant breakdown on a counterattack that they had. He was trying to direct players, not so sure whether they were getting the message or they were just not following through. So he had to make a decision on what he needed to do. Ended up being maybe not the best decision, but hey, you got to make a decision on something, and he did. And we'll get into the other aspects of that third goal because there's a lot of culpability for that third goal. I assign varying levels of culpability to 5 or 6 players. So, you know, that was not a individual breakdown. That was a cumulative breakdown, in my opinion. So even with that one slight misstep, I would say, for Roden, he still was one of the bright spots. And one thing this does, I think, illuminate is that he can be a starter. He can be a regular player. He needs to be one of the top 2-3 players considered for that center back position in every match, regardless whether it's Premier League, Conference League, Cup play, whatever. He needs to be involved in that conversation and get regular minutes. In my opinion, he's far a better player than Dyer and Sanchez, even on their best days. So, and he doesn't make near the mistakes and issues that Dyer and Sanchez routinely have, in my opinion. Romero, the book's still out on him. We still don't know enough about him. But I think Roden has definitely shown that he is a guy we can rely on in that aspect. My next good is Reguilón. Reguilón was a pretty solid in defense. Wasn't great, wasn't outstanding, but he did a lot of work covering the backside of plays because they were attacking our down their left, our right routinely. That's where they were really working hard because, of course, Royal started new to the team, new to the league, really hasn't had time. So they were going to exploit that situation, and they did. And so Reguilón numerous times had to cover that backside, and he did. He did real well with it. Even one time, he did so well with it that he headed a ball off the goal line that was going into the net that Lloris had kind of misplayed. And it got over him, was heading into the backside of the net. And Reguilón had come in and actually saved a goal, headed it out. And so, you know, that was a great thing. One thing that I think we didn't see enough from Reguilón is him pushing forward, being a threat going forward. But we didn't see that from very many players anyway, no matter where they were or what their position was and what their role was. We didn't see that from the Spurs really at all. And as I said, we had a total of 0 shots on goal in the first half and 2 for the entire match. Not a lot of people doing anything going forward, so you can't, put all the blame on him. But, that was something that he didn't quite do enough, I think. But overall, I think Reguilón had a pretty good match. I think he's had a few good matches in a row. He's doing much, much better under Nuno in not just being so reckless in pushing forward and attacking and just leaving the wing completely open. So I think they're working with him quite a bit to find that balance, be a threat, but also fulfill that role of what a outside back needs to do, and that's also play defense. I think they're working with him quite a bit on that, and it shows, in my opinion. So that's all the good I have. That's it. And there are people that could argue that there was no good in this match, and I can't completely, discount that. But this is what I saw in the match that I watched while I was going through it and all the notes I made. And so next, we're going to talk about the bad. Remember, bad's not the worst. It's kind of middle of the road, but definitely some things that need to be addressed that can be corrected and should be corrected for a more successful result. My first bad is Kane. Kane's made my bad category for 2 matches in a row. His only 2 Premier League matches. And it's a little frustrating because when you look at what he was doing in international play and what he did for England, he looked definitely engaged and active and really functioning well. Even though he got a late start to the preseason, his conditioning was a little lacking, which I gave him kind of a benefit of the doubt in that first match. That's why he wasn't worse than bad or something like that, because he was coming back off, a short preseason, really hadn't had any time leading up of play or even, working in with the team much. So, part of that's due to his thing that he had going on. Part of it, they had, England went long into the Euros. So, there was compounding issues that led him to not be where he should have been when the season started. So, but when he went and played well in the World Cup qualifiers, you got to think, okay, he's getting his legs back under him, his touch, and everything. But he did play in the midweek, so maybe he's a little fatigued from that. But the fact of the matter is that I didn't see much passion or effort in his play, his demeanor, the way he moved, until we were down a goal in the last 10 minutes of the match is when I actually saw him actually trying to work hard and try to do something to try to come away with some sort of result. He seemed to be very static up front throughout most of the match, which made him easy to mark, made it difficult for people to put balls into him. And it just didn't seem like he was doing all he could do to help out the situation with the team. And there's a lot of other factors that go into it. We're going to talk about some more of those here in just a little bit. But, I don't feel like he put forth the full effort that he could or should. And, I rarely felt like I knew he was even playing. That's how little and how disengaged he was throughout the entire match for me. I almost forgot a number of times that he was even playing. So something like I would see with Dele Alli a number of times in most of the matches that Dele's played. But, that's my first bad. My second bad is Mora. While Mora was our best attacking player, he was the most active on the ball in attacking positions and such, he routinely would over dribble and give the ball away. And, that's something that has repeatedly been an issue for him. He'll take on 1, 2 players, but then continue to try to take on 3, 4, or 5 players. And he has his head down. He doesn't really look up, look for a pass, look for opportunities to dish it off to someone or create, some link up play or give and goes and stuff. Just too often he's trying to do it all himself. And he kind of fell into that in this match here. And partially maybe because he felt like there was no activity going on, moving the ball forward, no interchanging of play and positioning and stuff like that. So he maybe felt like he had to take on this role, but that just doesn't do us any good if he continues to do that and just give the ball away cheaply. He also often wouldn't make passes that could have created opportunities for, him to get into a interchange of link-up play and such. He just seems like he's very late with making decisions to make a pass, missing numerous opportunities to make passes into Kane or someone else to generate some movement rather than him creating it all by himself through the dribble. And another issue that he made some poor challenges around our 18-yard box, giving them, the Crystal Palace, a couple opportunities to put the ball into the penalty area and stuff, and giving them opportunities to, try to score a goal. And that's just not acceptable. We can't have that, especially against a team like Crystal Palace, who arguably is much better in the air than we are. So that's my second bad. So my third bad is Tanganga, and I know a lot of people might want to throw him into a very poor category, but really, when you look at it, he was one of our best defenders in this match until the point that he got the red card. Even with the yellow card, he was still one of our better defenders. He was doing a great job being thrust into the center of the pitch, having to switch out his partner in Dyer, who got the injury, to kind of team up with Roden. Then they were working well together, in my opinion, as far as the center back pairing. And he was doing a good job defensively. The real issue is, he's got to be more situationally aware. Once he picked up that yellow, he's got to understand he can't go into that challenge which gave him the red card. You know what? If you're going to give up the ball, you just give it up. Don't make that challenge. Don't get sent off the field. We were having enough trouble as it was with 11 players. Going down to 10 was just going to make it nigh impossible for us to be successful in doing anything, especially going forward, let alone defending, because we were missing Romero and Sanchez as options. So we were really thin at that center back position at that point after Dyer got injured. So, and then, another thing, he needs to learn when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. I mean, I love his energy. I love that he doesn't back down from anything. But, he's still got to figure out, sometimes you go in hard and sometimes you don't. And he's still trying to figure that little balance out of what do I need, when do I need to really come in and make my mark on this challenge or whatever, and when is it okay just to kind of not push through and make such a hard challenge or situation. So Tanganga is my third bad, my last bad. So those are, that's all the bads I have. So now we're going to move into the ugly. And, I could sit here and put just about everyone in bad or ugly, but I don't want this to be an hour of me just sitting here talking terrible about everything in the match. I mean, it's our first loss, but I've talked about it a number post matches before. You can go back and look at any of them you want, and even in pre-match ponderings and the predicted ponderings, that we haven't played as well as what our record was in the first three matches, and there's definitely been opportunities for our teams to take advantage of us, and they just haven't fulfilled those opportunities. Well, today we gave them opportunities and they fulfilled them. So we're going to talk about the ugly here, and the ugly is things just came completely off the rails for whatever situation that we're going to talk about. I mean, it's like there is no silver lining in it. It's just complete bunk. So my first ugly is Dele Alli. This guy's been in my bad or ugly category for every single match of this season. And it's pretty much the same thing every match. He gives the ball away too much. I mean, sometimes he gives it away without any pressure. It's just, he gives the ball away way too much for someone that's in the position that he is. That's supposed to be someone that's supposed to push forward and help be that link-up play and that creative play between the holding midfielders and the forwards. And he's just not providing that for us at this point in time, and hasn't, even remotely. He provides no quality in attack or defense. He's doing a lot of running. People keep saying how much he's running, how much he's just, working all over the field. Well, if he's just running around to be running around and it doesn't produce anything or is not effective in helping the attack or the defense, it's doing nothing for us. It's providing no value. So you might as well not even be there, practically. But definitely don't think he's providing any quality for the attack or the defense. He was late many times in defense, assisting in the defense, which actually led to another issue that he had numerous fouls just outside the 18. And then he was late in a number of occasions in linking up with trying to push the offense and push the ball forward, which means that we just stagnated and didn't get anything going offensively. So for me right now, he's really providing nothing. And then oftentimes he does look lost out there on what he's supposed to be doing. And I know this is not his normal position, but Nuno is continuing to put him out there. So he has to produce some sort of value, even if it would be either just going forward or helping on the defense. That would be something. But when he doesn't provide anything in either aspect, I don't understand why he continues to get playing time. It doesn't make any sense to me. But, and I know we don't see everything that happens behind the scenes and in the practices and stuff, but you can't tell me that you can't take into account what happens in the games, regardless of what they show in practice. What they're doing in the matches should actually outweigh whatever they're showing you in practice. If they can take what they're doing in practice and translate that into match play, it doesn't matter how good they look in practice. They could be a world beater in practice, but if they get out there in the match and don't do anything, it's just pointless. So he's my first ugly. My second ugly, and some people could say this is a little harsh, but this person was given the start, so they have to get out there and actually produce. And so my second ugly is Emerson Royal. I know he's new to the squad, hasn't had much time, but if you're going to put him out there, he has to be effective. He has to be at least moderately successful, because we can't just have someone be so poor. If we're going to have someone be terrible, we can throw Doherty, or should have kept Aurier. We can get that out of those two. I mean, to me, with the performance that Royal put out there, it really didn't say that he was any better than Doherty or Aurier. So, in the first 10 minutes, I thought he actually did, 5 to 10 minutes, he was doing pretty decent. And if he would have stayed like that the entire match, didn't produce anything great or outstanding, but just stayed consistent, I'd have been like, okay, that's not too bad for a first start, just joining the squad, not familiar with the language, it's not his native language and things. So there's a lot of things I would have given him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But when I'm looking at the match, there were a number of things that really concerned me. And that's the fact that he got beat 1v1 at least 5 times in this match. And regardless of how much you've worked with the squad or whatever, that's part of his job. So getting beat that easily and that many times throughout the match is a concern, because that shouldn't be a thing that should occur as much as it did throughout this match. It has nothing to do with the fact that he hasn't played with the squad and He doesn't know the language, because I've heard a lot of excuses for him. The 1v1 stuff, that's just all individual effort, talent, and ability. So that is concerning for me at this point. The other thing, outside of that first 5 to 10 minutes, he really provided nothing going forward. Now, there were a number of times he was out on that, he had pushed up out on that flank, and the ball just never did find him. And that, I blame the midfield on that. But when he did get it out there after that first 5 to 10 minutes, he just didn't find any progress moving forward. And, that's what he's known for. That's really actually what he is known for, is being able to get forward. So, that it's concerning. Another concern. That's something he's known for, and it did not come to fruition. So there's another big concern. And then when you look at, the 3 goals that scored, he was involved. He was a portion of why they got the second and third goals. And the biggest one that I really have a issue with, both the second and third were an issue with tracking back and, tracking your man and stuff. But the third goal specifically, when he should have been tracking back, he was jogging. He was not running full on. And he could have made an attempt or a block on the shot for that third goal, or punched the ball out. He would have been in position to do something if he would have done something other than just lollygag back, thinking that someone's going to save him. And that's a concern too, because we got enough players that don't put out effort during matches. And for an entire match, we don't need another one. There's definitely some serious concerns at this point and I get it. It's first match, just joining the squad, but some of those things have nothing to do with whether he's been involved in the squad or not. Those issues that I've pointed out are individual issues. Those are individual things that are kind of almost like a character metric. And for me, that needs to be corrected, and corrected very quickly, or this could be a serious thing going forward for us. So Emerson's my second ugly. My third ugly, and we have 3, and we have more. Actually, we have more than 3, so I'm just letting the cat out of the bag here. We have more than 3. My third ugly is Davies. So after the red card, Tanganga goes off. They make the substitution to bring in another center back. Davies can play center back in a pinch or in a back 3 situation he has. So it's not like he's foreign to the concept of being a center back. But when you look at what Davies did over the time that he was on the pitch, I had no positive actions recorded for him. None. 0. And he was involved in every single score. So he had a hand, figuratively and literally, in every single goal that Crystal Palace scored. And, the handball, he should know better than that. The other 2, he was beaten or didn't cover his man, or it was, he was just involved in every single goal that the Crystal Palace made. He looked lost out there, like he didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. He didn't look very confident. He looked very frazzled, in my opinion. And he was easily the worst defensive player on Spurs, if not both teams. So, Davies, for me, completely botched his opportunity here to say, hey, I'm a guy you can rely on. And I'm actually one that said, Davies is probably someone we shouldn't ship out during the summer, because he has been a consistent, he doesn't do over-the-top great things, and he usually doesn't fall completely on his face. He's usually a pretty consistent person you can rely on that defense. But today, kind of if there's any more matches like this, whoa. He probably was a guy we should have shipped out, but, we'll have to wait and see. But he was a huge catalyst in why we lost this match. So He's my third ugly. Okay, my fourth ugly, and I'm going to lay it on Nuno. Nuno, I think he really botched this match in a number of different ways. First, the formation. I think he should have stayed with the 4-3-3 that he's been using. Changing up the formation, trying to get people to do things that they're not used to doing, that they really haven't been working on. You had everyone off on international break or not everyone, but a lot of the people off on international break. If you come back in and use that 4-3-3, it's something that they've been working on, something they've used over the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And it's not going to be, there's not going to be so many gaps and holes, in my opinion. As soon as he changed up the formation, it created numerous issues with the way the team was functioning and how everything flowed. Next was the actual lineup, who he put out there, and the number of position changes he made. So, there was so many people that were shuffled around and put here and put there, and because of the formation and because of the issues with injuries and COVID things, he really, in my opinion, shuffled the deck. I mean, just across the back line alone, he would have only had to make one change, really, because he could have started off with Tanganga on the right, Roden in the middle, Dyer in the middle, and then Reguilon. So the back line really stays very consistent and solid with the way it's played the first 3 or 4 weeks. Only one change, not as much confusion and stuff. Once you start making multiple changes, now there's a lot of things that can go awry, and it did in a lot of different ways. And so I think he botched that. Then in the midfield, Skip started. I didn't think Skip was going to play in this match because of the injury he picked up, and maybe that was part of why Skip wasn't as good as I thought he should be, but he wasn't as bad as he could have been either. So, I expected him to play Winks because Winks has played for him in the Conference League matches, but to play Winks, Højbjerg, and Skip, that's just nonsense to me. That doesn't do anything for Spurs to help us get any kind of result in this match. All you're doing is saying, we're going to pack it in as deep as we can, which we didn't even do that, and hope that we can come out of it with a draw. And that was the other issue with the formation that he did. When he went to that 4-1-2-1, or was it 4-2-1-2-1? That's what it was. He started, they were pressing all the way into the opposing side's 18. And it just stretched us too thin. We couldn't maintain solidarity in the midfield. There was the midfield was 15 or 20 yards behind the front line all the time. He got the personnel wrong. You can't have 3 holding midfielders in the midfield and expect the ball to get up to the forwards. There's got to be someone else in there. If you're going to go with Winks, if you're going to go with Skip and Højbjerg, you got to have someone else in there. Maybe try Heel, or even drop Dele Alli into an advanced midfield role and then put Heel in on the wing. There was just, I get it, there weren't a lot of options, and I don't think Ndombele was actually a good option to start just because he has had 0 competitive minutes at this point in the season. But he really, really botched this lineup, in my opinion. And it was bad. And then, you see how bad things are working in the first half. Again, I'm going to say it again. 0 shots in the first half for the Spurs. How many changes does Nuno make? Of course, he had to make the one because of an injury. So he's made 1 change so far in the match. But what does he do? He doesn't make any personnel changes, doesn't make a formation change or tactical change in any way. He goes out with the same setup. And because we're pushing out so far, that's part of the reason that Tanganga got exposed, that because we're trying to do a high press with personnel that are not going to be able to do the high press and be successful at it. Kane does not spearhead a high press effectively. He can't do it. He's shown that over the last couple of years. I know they used to do it with Poch was here, but Kane was also 4 or 5 years younger when that was happening. He's not the same guy. He doesn't have the same energy level that he did back then. So you can't spearhead a high press like you used to. And so I think Nuno set the team up to fail. Not intentionally, but I think he just got too cute with it all too. When you have so many already issues going on with personnel and so limited options, keep things as simple as possible. Keep it as consistent as you can with what's worked so far. He made too many changes, tried to get too cute with it, and that's my opinion, and then didn't make any adjustments throughout. And then the subs that he brings on, when the red card happens, they bring on Davies, take off Winks. Well, at that point, just got to do something more too. And Dele, as I said, was doing nothing to help the offense or the defense. You got to bring someone else in. Now might be a time to throw in Dombley in there for the last 15, 20 minutes or whatever. Maybe try heal something, anything. But he just left it all static, all the same. Did not change anything. And that's on him. And so there's a huge portion, while the players did not play well, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of blame on the players. Nuno has a huge amount of culpability in how this team played and was not effective in the setup of it. And the result is also his to blame just as much as the players. You can't just put this on the players. So they're all at fault. And if you want to throw a little bit of other blame, you can throw this on Levy and the ownership, because they didn't do what they needed to do to create a squad that could absorb some injuries and issues for the season. We can see right here, this is a huge indicator of, if we really have any significant injuries for the year, we're in terrible trouble. We can't afford an injury at any position other than maybe center back. That's the only position where you can arguably say that all those players are relatively at the same level. If not, there might be one or two that are a little above this or that, but they're all pretty even. Every other position on the field, there's a significant drop-off from the starter. That's on ownership in Levy and the people making the decisions on who we're buying, who we're selling, and such. So a lot of blame to go around. I usually go back through and review them all. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to make this any longer than it's already getting. I don't want to go on more of a rant than I already am. But looking forward, we've got the midweek match that we're going to have against Rennes for the Conference League, our first group match. We've got to come out with a strong team. We don't have enough. We don't know who's going to be back from injury, if injuries are healing up or not. The COVID protocol individuals, they're still going to be going through the COVID protocol to make sure that they're okay. So they're not even available either. So there's still Lo Celso, Romero, and Sanchez who are not even available just due to the COVID thing. So we're going to be kind of thin again for the Rennes match. Now, you could argue that we should win this. They're missing one of their better players, who's a Belgian international. But we've shown that our backups are not exactly the best at coming through with results. The Di Ferreira first match is a perfect example. So we can't just kind of coast this match. We have to put out something. And then on the back end of that, on the weekend, you've got Chelsea. So it doesn't get any easier for Spurs at this point. And we still have the same issues. I do think Nuno's done a better job when he doesn't try to jumble things too much and stuff than Jose. And I think he's better off not trying to push us forward, not have a higher press. I mean, it's what we did against Man City. I mean, the fact of the matter is we don't have the people, the personnel, the players to play the Spurs way. We just don't. It's not in the cards for right now. It's going to take a few windows to correct that, and if it even does happen. But we got to play smart. We can't just go. I mean, if we want to lose a lot of games, we can play loose and fast. It's not going to hold up. I don't think we have the horses to do it, the players, even if we do open things up. But to me, it's more important to be successful and work ourselves into some sort of Europa competition or better next year to try to draw in better talent players too. Because we've had a lot of people this past offseason say, no, don't want to go there. What are they playing for? But those are my thoughts on this first loss for Tottenham Hotspurs going down in the London Derby to Crystal Palace. But tomorrow's another day. Hopefully we get some of the people back from injuries. If not before the Conference League match, before that Crystal Palace match. And, as we've gone through, if there's something that we've talked about that kind of sparks a thought or something, hit that like button, show that, let me know that the conversation and the thought process that we're going through here is at least, even if you don't agree, but if it's making the wheels turn a little bit, let me know by hitting that like button. I'd appreciate it. And tomorrow's another day. Come on, you Spurs.